Tell me about how you first realized that there was something different about your daughter.
She was a toddler. She has 2 older sisters, and she never played with her older sisters. She would be in a separate room from them. She never really interacted with them. She had this look in her eye, and this is going to sound terrible. It's almost like there wasn't anything there, even though I knew there was.
What made you want to get your daughter tested, and about what age did you decide that you wanted to get her tested?
By the time she was in kindergarten, I knew that she needed to be tested. She did stuff like she would carry around a worm in her hand all day long. She would spend 45 minutes watching an ant crawl on the cement. There were different things like having her shoes had to be tied a certain way, the way she sat up at the kitchen table. I have had some friends that have children that are on the autism spectrum, and so comparing her to them, I knew there was something wrong. She wasn't tested until she was 9. There were some legal issues that had to be dealt with.
What was the hardest thing about raising a child with autism?
I could only choose one. Probably the hardest was educating myself, trying to understand her, fighting with my mom. My mother was very strict, and she'd say I wouldn't put up with that or whatever. And with Sarah, I had to choose my battles, getting her what she needed and learning to understand her.
Do you feel sometimes a little bit more protective of your daughter?
Very, very protective.
What advice would you give to parents in that position?
Learn everything you can. The ARC of Spokane has excellent classes and seminars. They have a autism support group that you can go and get advice on how to handle a certain situation. Hug your kids. A lot of them don't like to be touched and stuff, but a tender touch can go a long way.
What's the hardest thing to understand about your daughter?
Sometimes the things that I say, sometimes the things that other people say, how she can just let things roll off her back. It would hurt my feelings.
Did you get a lot of support from friends and family after finding out you had an autistic child?
I was lucky. I have really good friends. We have kids that grew up together who love and protect Sarah, who are still friends with Sarah today. And so I was really lucky in that way that I had friends and family that love her for her. Sometimes she was a little hard to be around, but they really love her.
If there was something, any advice or anything that you would give to an autistic child, what would it be?
To not let that define you.
What do you want people to know about autism?
That you can't catch it. That they don't really know how the children get it. That it's nothing to be ashamed of.
What do you want people to know about those that have autism?
That they're some of the neatest people you'll ever meet.
What do you say about the reported causes of autism?
I'll give you a little background on Sarah. Sarah was my 4th pregnancy, my 3rd full-term child. My pregnancy with her was my most painful. Babies move around, bloop, 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 bloop. Sarah moved around. When my water broke and my contractions started, Sarah was crowning because she came so fast that the nurses actually pushed her head back in 3 times because the doctor wasn't there and the nurses weren't allowed to deliver her. In my case, I know it's not immunization. Sometimes I wonder if it is because they were pushing on her and something happened to her brain, or if it was in utero with her movements.
When did you first realize that your sister was different?
I think the first time I realized she was different was when we started getting new things in the house. Sarah would always freak out whenever something was different. Like we got a new floor in the kitchen and she came home crying, and I'm pretty sure she still has a piece of the floor, like, to this day. And
What do you think was the hardest thing about growing up with a child with autism?
probably just people calling her Sarah different. I mean, there was always a lot of problems with people, and, like, they would bully her and call her different, but, I mean, like, the autism she has it's I mean, you can't even really tell. Like, if you looked at her, you wouldn't notice that she has autism, and, like, she's high functional. I mean, she can still live a normal life. So, I mean, it's just normal.
What would you say is the most annoying thing?
Oh my goodness, the most annoying thing. Oh, there's a lot. If you have ever had a conversation with Sarah, which I think most of the people in this class have, she'll start going on about something that she's passionate about, and then she'll just keep talking about it, and you'll be sitting there, and you'll be like, Sarah, I really do not care about this at all. And you'll be like, okay, Sarah, can you stop talking? And under her breath, from far away, you can still hear her whispering the rest of that sentence, and you really get frustrated. You start yelling at her.
Do you sometimes feel a little bit more protective of your sister because of her autism?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think the autism that Sarah has, it's more like she doesn't really understand people's intentions. Like, I feel like people will try to take advantage of her because she's so sweet and she's so giving and she just loves everyone. So I feel like someday there's going to be someone that comes and tries to take advantage of her. That's why I'm always protective of her. That's why we're all always protective of her.
What advice would you give to siblings in your position?
Advice I would give to siblings in this position, don't freak out. Like, that's probably the hardest part. You're going to get really annoyed sometimes. You're going to get frustrated sometimes. You're going to be put in some pretty hard situations, but, I mean, they're your sister or your brother, and that's how it always is going to be.
What would you say is the hardest thing to understand about your sister?
Oh, this is a tough one. Hardest thing to understand? Hardest thing to understand, probably the hardest thing to understand is why things in Sarah's life, when they're changed, she just can't handle them. Like, she can't just know that life is going to have things that change in her life, but when it does happen and she doesn't think it's going to happen, that's when she starts freaking out. I'll never understand that. She's grown out of it, almost, because we can get new bathrooms downstairs, and, I mean, she didn't cry about it. I think she even enjoyed it, and that's always good.
What would you say is the easiest thing to understand?
The easiest to understand is definitely taking it slow. Like, I understand I have to take it slow, and not like super slow, like mentally slow. You just gotta, like, when she is talking to you, you just need to understand that she loves this, and then you need to know that she loves it. So you have to, be like, okay, I totally care about that, and that's awesome, instead of just be like, Sarah, just stop. You just gotta take it like that.
If you could help your sister understand something a little bit better, what would it be?
One thing I think I would help her understand better would be that people are not always nice and sweet, and that there are people out there that will, do bad things, and that she can't put all of her hopes and dreams in a person that she barely knows or that could take advantage of her, and that's why she has her family, and that's why she has a brother that will fight for her.
If there was something, any sort of advice or anything you could give to any autistic child, what would you say it would be?
I'd probably tell them everybody's different. I guess that's the most inspirational thing you can tell a child that feels like they're different, is that, like, they don't look the same. They maybe have a different skin color, but they're all people and they all feel the same way. They all get hurt.
What do you want people to know about autism?
There's one thing I want people to know about autism is that just because you're autistic doesn't mean you're not smart. There's a lot of smart, very, very smart autistic kids, and people always think, oh yeah, they're retarded. They're not retarded. Sure, they may not be able to speak well or walk very well, but they're smart and they know exactly what's going on around them, so you can't treat them like they're dumb.
What do you want people to know about people who have autism?
Well, one thing I would want them to know is that they can do everything you can. Like, maybe if they have a physical disability that maybe they physically can't, but, like, most people that I've seen that have autism, they can ride a bike, they can swim, they can throw, they can do a lot of stuff you can, so you can't just shame them because they're different.
What do you say about the reported causes of autism?
I mean, you know, drinking while I'm a child, like child labor, and smoking, and I mean, I guess some of it can be things that you physically do, like if a pregnant woman takes drugs. I mean, yeah, their child can come out a little different, but I think sometimes it's like genetics, like sometimes, like you're just born that way, and maybe your parents didn't do anything wrong, but I mean, if God wants you to be autistic, then maybe He has something better for you, and that you can influence people with your autism.
Has this experience helped you in any way, and if so, how?
Oh yeah, oh so much. I've done so much cool stuff. I was a unified partner in Special Olympics, and I was Sarah's partner, and I mean, I met so many cool people, and I had a lot of autistic friends, and it's just nice to be able to like relate to people, because people will be like, yeah, my sister's autistic and it's really hard, and then I can come up and be like, you know, my sister's autistic too, and she has Asperger's, and like, what does your autistic sibling have? I mean, it's just nice to be able to relate to people like that.
What was the easiest thing about growing up with a child with autism?
Well, I mean, I wasn't really born when this was going on, but my mom would always tell me that Sarah was not afraid of anything, and I feel like that was part of the autism. Like, she was very daring. She was pretty much like me, but she just didn't know any better, and that's kind of a good thing. But I mean, she knows not to pick up a spider, and she knows not to jump off of buildings. I mean, she won't even touch a spider. So.
Have you had to largely adapt your lifestyle at all due to having a sibling with autism?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't really know. I mean, the way I look at my life, it seems pretty normal, and it seems the same. I mean, I guess if it was like an intense autism, like she couldn't walk, I mean, obviously life would be different. We'd have ramps in the house, but I mean, we would still be living life. I mean, Sarah's autism, I mean, nothing's really changed.
What would you say your favorite thing is about your sister?
She forgives really easily. It's kind of a weakness, but you can yell at her all you want, and you'll confront her, and she'll still walk up and give you a hug and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. And you know, even if it's your fault, she'll still love you for it. It's probably the best thing.